Oh, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And the Super Bowl is finally upon us. We have our matchup. We have the number one seed in the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the number one seed in the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. In this video, I'm not only going to preview the game, I am going to finally give you guys my final Super Bowl pick for this contest. Now, as I always do, I ask you guys who is going to win Super Bowls or playoffs or Bears previews, and I ask you guys who will win the Super Bowl. And 63% of you picked the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs and win their second Super Bowl in 5 years. Stay tuned to later on in the video to see if I agree or disagree with you guys' pick. But before we get into that, make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow and to beat the YouTube algorithm. And if you guys are not subscribed, go ahead and click the sub button, notification bell, so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But it's time to dive into the Super Bowl and get into my picks and predictions and preview. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, so first, I am going to talk about this Philadelphia Eagles offense versus this Kansas City Chiefs defense. Now, the Eagles offense coming off of a very good performance, which against, I think, the best defense in the league, and the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game, where they had some very major success running the football against the San Francisco 49ers with Hurst, with Sanders, Boston Scott, Gainwell. This team had very much success running the football against the San Francisco 49ers. And they're facing the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which got a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Kalafidis, if I'm saying this right. I'm bad with names if you guys don't know. But they had a very good game rushing the quarterback against the Bengals offensive line that was, let's just say, not very good in my opinion and still needs work. And they went off. Chris Jones single-handedly dominated the end of that football game. Now, you're talking about this Chiefs defense that I've always questioned whether their secondary can hold up. And which proved in that Cincinnati Bengals contest is that if the pass rush gets home, the secondary doesn't have to cover as long because they are getting after the quarterback. But they're going up against, I believe, one of the best offensive lines of football with Jordan Mailata left tackle, Landon Dickerson the left guard, Jason Kelce, one of the best centers, Isaac Seumalo at the right guard, and Lane Johnson, who's one of the best right tackles that we have in the NFL. This offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles has been very, very powerful. And its offensive line has contributed so much to the success of this Eagles offense, whether it's been blocking in the running game for Hurts and Sanders and protecting Hurts in the pocket. But the key for this game for the Philadelphia Eagles offense to have success is being able to maintain the dominance of Chris Jones, who is one of the better defensive tackles that we have in the NFL. He can go after the quarterback. He can do things in the running game. Frank Clark can rush the passer on the edge. Carlos Dunlap, even though he's advanced in age, can make some impact. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, the linebackers for the Kansas City Chiefs, have played solidly. And surprisingly enough, Trent McDuffie, Justin Reid, Thornhill, and Snead, the secondary of the Chiefs, they have been holding their own, even though my personal thing is to question their secondary. But like I said earlier, that pass rush kind of helps with that. And they are going to have an extremely tough task on their hands with A.J. Brown, who I think completely changed the dynamics of this Eagles wide receiving core, the passing game, and this offense in total. Devontae Smith, who is emerging, the former Heisman Trophy winner, and he has an opportunity in this game become a Heisman Trophy winner, national champion, and now Super Bowl champion, which is absolutely crazy. Quez Watkins, he's a very solid receiver in his own right, and he does a lot for this Eagles offense. And Dallas Goedert, who is starting to emerge as one of the better tight ends that we have in the NFL. And the key is to be balanced as a Philadelphia Eagles team, and I think running the football for this Eagles team against the front of the Kansas City Chiefs is going to be key, because as we've seen all season with this Eagles team, the running game sets up so much of what they want to do on the offensive side of the ball. And for the Chiefs, they're going to have to stay disciplined on those RPOs, on some of those zone read plays that the Eagles like to present with Jalen Hurts and this athletic ability. So the Chiefs are going to have to stay completely disciplined on those plays and make sure they maintain Jalen Hurts. I've seen teams put quarterback spies on him, and it still doesn't work. The athleticism of this Chiefs defense is going to have to show up, because they have a lot of athletes on the offensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles. So if I was to give an advantage to any team in this matchup, I would give the advantage to the Eagles offense in this particular matchup. Next, we're going to talk about this Kansas City Chiefs offense led by Mahomes versus the Philadelphia Eagles defense led by Darius, Slay, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham up front. Now, the Eagles defense, let's just be 1,000,000% honest, they didn't really have to defend the passing game, especially after the injuries to Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson. They really didn't have much to defend as far as that San Francisco 49er offense after those injuries. And I am going to be 100% honest, that team had a little bit easy after that happened. And they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs offense, where they can throw so much at you with Mahomes. And Mahomes, even though they didn't have the greatest of games, and he's still dealing with the ankle pain that he suffered in the divisional round against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's still one of those quarterbacks that can just beat you outside and inside of the pocket. And we're going to talk about, I want to say, the pass rush and the things that they can do up front for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. They have a lot of bodies that they can throw at you in their defensive front. Just think about these: Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat, and those are just the starters. Jordan Davis, Linval Joseph, Robert Quinn, and Ndamukong Suh. They have a really, really deep rotation up front to keep these guys fresh to either rush after the quarterback or stop the running game of the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though I personally believe the running game of the Kansas City Chiefs is really not a big strength of this offense. Pacheco is very solid. McKinnon is very solid. But I just believe that McKinnon does more as far as his versatility and his speed in the passing game, and as well as the running game. Pacheco does a lot in the running game more than they do McKinnon. And the wide receiver questions is the injuries, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney. They have some injury questions at the wide receiver position, and we're not sure if Travis Kelce is going to be 100% dealing with some of the back pain that he had coming into the Cincinnati Bengals game. We're not sure how that's going to be unfolded. It looks like he's probably healthy, but I think the Eagles secondary with Bradbury, C.J. Garner-Johnson, who's coming back from injury, Reid Blankenship, who's filled in and played a very nice role for this defense, Darius Slay, who I believe is one of the better cover corners that we have in this NFL. And I don't think the Chiefs' weapons, I'm not going to say they're great, I'm not going to say they're bad, but it's just a different dynamic when you're going up against the secondary like they have with the Eagles. And I talked about all those names up front. I didn't mention Hassan Reddick, who could have been a possible Defensive Player of the Year candidate with the season that he had. And he was one of the more bigger surprises that, in my opinion, they also broke the record for sacks in a season. And we're going up against the offensive line with the Kansas City Chiefs led by Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Andrew Wiley, Trey Smith, with Brown, Thuney, and Humphrey being Pro Bowlers. This offensive line for Kansas City Chiefs is no slouch, but in order for this Chiefs offense to have some success, I think they're going to have to break down this Eagles defense. I think they're going to have to run the football a little bit more than what they're accustomed to, because this Eagles secondary is a very good secondary, and I don't think they have that true number one wide receiver on the Kansas City side of the ball. They have guys that plug and play and do what they have to do. Of course, the number one receiver is tight end Travis Kelce, who can present a matchup nightmare for Edwards, for White, and this defense. So the Kansas City Chiefs have weapons to throw at you. They don't have the true number one, and I've always said that they don't have the true number one receiver, but what they have, it works. And you're going up against an Eagles defense that has so many weapons and so many pieces on that side of the ball. I think this is going to be an even matchup. I think this is going to be an even matchup, even though if I had the slight edge, it would probably go to Philly. But I just think it's going to be an even matchup. I just think the dynamic that Patrick Mahomes presents, the accuracy he can throw with when he's clicking with those weapons, and if the running game gets going, I think they're going to have a little bit of a tougher time slowing down this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I'm talking about the Eagles defense. So I think it's going to be even, but if I had to give a side advantage, I would give it to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, it is time to give my pick when what you've all been waiting for. And without further ado, my pick to win this Super Bowl will be the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I went back and forth all week of who am I going to pick, who am I not going to pick, where and what I'm going to entail. But I ended up deciding on the Philadelphia Eagles, and here's why. I am not too trustworthy of the injuries that the Kansas City Chiefs have at their wide receiver position, whether it's Smith-Schuster, Tony, and Hardman, who play big roles in this offense. Sky Moore can play a big role, but he hasn't seen a lot of the football field this season, and he does make some impact. It's just he has sometimes ability to fumble and drop the football, and this Eagles defense can get after you, and they have a lot of bodies up front. And I'm still going to stick with my theory. I am just not a big believer in this Kansas City Chiefs secondary, in this defense in particular, but the secondary in particular. I just believe that the dangerous combination of A.J. Brown, Smith, and Watkins, and the ability of Jalen Hurts to push the ball down the field, and the explosive plays that this Eagles offense can create. Not to say that the Kansas City Chiefs offense can't create explosive plays. It's just the wide receiver dynamic gives the edge to Philly. I think the defensive dynamic, that the bodies and the freshness that this Eagles defense can present problems to a Chiefs offensive line that has been a little bit so-so, at least in my opinion. So if I was going to pick anybody, I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to pick a score of 27-24. Philadelphia Eagles take their second Super Bowl in 5 years. But hey, that is all I have to get for you guys today. Make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow. Comment your Super Bowl winner down below. Comment your winner and why do you think either the Chiefs or Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. And you have gotten to this point, make sure you click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But I am APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.